Hello, hello, and good evening. And okay, solo muna daw ako sabi ni Attorney Ahmed because hahabol siya. And sorry, mga ilang gabi akong hindi nakasama dahil something about this vacation didn't make me feel well. Parang sabi nga nung isa namin barkada, baka daw ako ay nanibago. Good evening, Ma'am Nila. Good evening, Linus, Hill. Oy, I placed the invite, okay, dito sa ating chat. I'll do it again. I'll try if I can do it again dahil mahirap pala itong gamitin kapag phone lang, no? Ang ating ginagamit dito. Hindi na ako makapagsulat. Or whoever can copy the invite, okay, I just copy it again and then paste it. Okay? Because as usual, our show is open for everyone and anyone who wants to disagree. Ay, sorry nga pala dun sa huling ginulo ko, no, si Kiko. Kawawa naman. Naiiyak nata si Kiko. Ah, kung sino man nakakilala kay Kiko, sorry, no? Kasi nasabihan ko ata na ano. Kasi akala niya nung huling magkasama tayo, hindi na ako naka-login or hindi na kami naka-login ni Attorney Ahmed. Pero sa totoo lang, nakikita pa namin yung mga chat after this show. And dun siya namiling maglagay doon ng ano, na mali daw si Marcoleta, mali daw yung findings ng Congress. How can you tell Congress to be wrong and you to be right? Ay, nako, kawawa. Yun, like and share. Tama po, Ma'am Nila. Lagay nga natin yan, ha? Kasi hirap na hirap ako dito sa phone talaga. Please don't forget. Yun, I think you can see it now. Alright. So, ano bang napagkayarian natin last time? Si Attorney Ahmed, tuwan-tuwa dun sa ating tirada kanina sa DTI. Hindi ko alam, ano bang problema niyo sa DTI dyan sa Manila? Kami kasi dito sa Mindanao ngayon, alam nyo, I would like to apologize sa lahat ng mga taga-probinsya. Ang 10:30 pala dito sa probinsya, no, ay napakadilim na at napakasarap ng matulog. Talagang ang hirap-hirap ng manatiling gising at this time of the night. Oh, sino sa inyo ang magdi-disagree diyan? No? Lalo na yung mga nandito sa bandang Mindanao. Ay nako, ang sarap talaga matulog at 8:30 in the evening. Lalo na medyo masakit-sakit yung tiyan mo. O yun, hello from Winnipeg. Wow! Regards to Team Luminous. Keep safe. Galing yan kay Ligaya. Mm-hmm. And uy, bago to si Miss D. Pag sinabing D, taga ano to? Taga North. Mga ano to? Mga mayayaman to. Lalo na pag Alegre pa yung isa. Pag Alegre, tapos may D, nako, masaya na, D pa, mayaman pa. So, si True Lies, oh, back to the circulation. Liza Anas ko. Okay, good evening, Liza. Oh, may isa pang Lisa Substantiente. Palagi na dito kasama. So, Attorney Ahmed will catch up. And wow, from US of A. Okay, alam niyo yung ating mga dahilan kung bakit ako napauwi dito sa Mindanao. Nag-celebrate kami ng 88th birthday ng aking tatay. And yun, no? Nakakalungkot, nakakatuwa, nakakapagod. Pero going back, no? Going back to a place where you grew up like this. Ano to actually, garahe to dati, garahe. Wala nang tao, ako na lang. Yun. Kasi dito lang ang may signal. Everywhere else in our house, walang signal. Oh. So, kayo dyan na Oops, mali. Yun, oh. Kita niyo yun? So, pansamantalang nawawala ang mga signal, bumabalik, nawawala, bumabalik, ito na naman. Nakabalik na ba ako? Yun. Yun! Ako nga po, pauwi pa lang, galing pa sa walking. Yun, oh. Walking in Manila. Dahil, yun, huminto na. Alin ang huminto? Yung ulan sa Manila o yung ating signal? Hello, Rocky. Sus naman, oh. Si Ahmed ay nag-check daw siya. I-check daw niya yung mga bahay namin doon sa Marikina. Kaya, kanta ng boses, sir. Bakit? Yung kanta? Oo nga. Yes. I can sing. I can sing well. Very well, in fact. Want me to sing? Kaya lang, matira tayo ng copyright infringement. Bawal yun. Naghang. Opo. Naghang for a while kasi ginalaw ko yung cellphone. At hindi nga masagap ng aking tawag nito. Hindi masagap ng laptop yung signal. Napakabagal, napakahina na aming signal dito. PLDT na yan. Yon. Alright. Sige. You're back. Yun. Good. So ano bang topic natin ngayon? Well, mag-usap tayo about konting tungkol sa childhood. Si Attorney Ahmed, marami yun siyang may kwento about his childhood. No? Kasi, naalala ko yung mga taon na nakalipas. Alam nyo, yung bigla kang mapapauwi ng medyo mahaba-habang panahon. And then wala kang gagawin. And then you will remember. Then you will get to see old friends. You will get to see old faces, old places. And then you will realize, ba't hindi nagbabago ang mga bagay-bagay dito sa aming lugar? Wow, thank you, Ma'am Nila. Diba, bakit hindi nagbabago ang mga bagay-bagay sa probinsya? Bakit ba tayo stuck? Parang yung kanta ni Whitney Houston si Whitney Houston ba yan? One moment in time? Hindi na nagbabago. Wow, Ma'am Nila, thank you po sa pangkape. May kulay. Yun. Di ba? Kayo, ang karamihan sa inyo nasa may mga nasa US kanina, no? Nasa US, merong mga nasa kung saan sa mga bansa. And then, when you come home sa Pilipinas, you will feel the same, na parang, wala pa rin bang nagbabago dito? And then, you talk to people, and then you will realize, shit, bago na yung mukha ng mga politiko. They're the younger generations. Mga kaidaran na natin yung iba. Tapos ganun pa rin. What is wrong? Diba? What is really wrong with our ano ba sinasabi niya ate? Sinabi niya ay, wait, palitan ko lang. Hindi ko na mabasa. Good Tuesday morning, good Wednesday morning. Dito, nasa ibang bansa to. Diba? Si Ate Annette. Ano? Yun. Karamihan sa inyo na nasa labas, nasa ibang bansa, you will always question, ano ba nangyayari sa Pilipinas? Bakit hindi tayo umaasenso, hindi tayo nagbabago, hindi tayo nagpo-progress, yung mga lugar sa nakinalakihan natin, ganoon pa rin. Yung katulad ng isang meron isang town, when you go to Zami City from our place, no? To the airport, kasi may sinundo kami sa airport kanina na late na bisita. Merong lugar dyan na dinaanan na ng diversion road. Eh nasira yung diversion road, so we have to go inside the town again. And the last time siguro na napadaan ako doon was about 25 years ago. And then merong isang simbahan doon na akala mo, nung bata pa ako, ang laki-laki ng simbahan nun. And then ngayon, dinadaanan ko, nandiyan lang pala nun. So, itong mga klaseng realizations, memories, maka-counter-check mo siya with our experiences now, with our exposure to other places, and then we will say, bakit itong town na to, na dinaanan na ng diversion road, hindi na natin nadadaanan every day or hindi na natin nadadaanan for the longest time, and then ngayon, madadaanan mo, walang pagbabago. Then I asked myself kanina, is there really something wrong with this place or there's something wrong with how I see this place? Diba? Kasi, when I passed by the river, ang linis-linis. Diba? I haven't seen any river in the entire island of Luzon as clean as the rivers I see here. So is it a good thing or a bad thing that nothing has changed? That's a big question yan, katulad dito, sinasabi na me my signal. Let me see if kaya. Wait. Bumalik na ba ako? Yun, I think I'm back. Alright. Sabi, no? Sa Davao, maraming pagbabago. Okay, what is the topic? Wala ako naiintindihan. Okay, ang topic dito is change. No? Change that we want to see and change that maybe we don't want to see. Diba? So yun yung topic natin. Pero isa siguro na change na kailangan nating makita na we would all want. Change na walang kinalaman sa physical ng lugar or change na walang kinalaman sa negosyo sa lugar would be yung change ng internet connection. Maybe dyan tayo magkakasundo tayo lahat, no? Kasi wala yan siyang kinalaman sa kung ano yung magiging itsura ng lugar. But in a place like ours, sige, when I come back, I'll take as many pictures as possible and then I'll share it. Kasi maybe this is the last time na yung transition to modernization will begin kasi mula nung tinira natin yung isang project dito na hindi matapos-tapos na pinagkautangan ng syudad namin ng 350 million pesos na dalawang termino ng mayor ang kailangan pang magtapos, no? Umutang sila ng pera using the LGU's power to contract loans, no? Kasi yung LGU meron yan silang authority kagaya ng gobyerno, parang PPPP, okay? Papag-usapan natin ng mga bagay na yan, mga project ng gobyerno, okay? May nagtatanong kasi ng topic natin, right? Yung mga PPPP na yan, meron din kasi silang authority na mag-generate ng sarili nilang pera using their corporate powers. Okay? And mukhang napahiya ata yung nakaupong mayor. In fact, yung mayor na umutang nun, congressman na ngayon, at dahil natira sila sa DWIC ng pansamantala lang, bagya lang. So napilitan silang tapusin at ngayon ay tapos na. Yun ang isang convention center na wala pa daw bubong ngayon. Pero nautang na yung 350 million and then ang tanong, bakit ganun katagal matapos yung project? And then, ito pa yung masaklap. Kasi from day one, meron ng binabayarang interest yung aming syudad. So how many cities, how many provinces, how many municipalities all over the country are seeing this kind of, hindi to simpleng corruption eh. This is management, no? Na, okay. Nung nagkaroon kasi ng local government code, ano bang taon niya, ginawa ni Nenek Pimentel? 1992 ata yan, or 1993. Okay? Nag-take effect. One of the first cities, or one of the first LGUs na gumamit ng mga authority na yan was the province of Cebu. No? Generating their own funds locally by contracting loans. And then now, okay, now, just about, I think, just before the elections, si Gwen Garcia was already, di naman 1981, grabe ka naman. 1991 or 1992, tama. Grabe naman 1981, wala pang EDSA revolution yan. 1991 or 1992 yung nag-take effect yung local government code. Si Gwen Garcia was very proud to say that the province of Cebu was already able to pay up all of their local government debts. Wow. And wala na daw silang utang. So kumbaga, is it really a part of the transition of every local government na dadaan siya sa stage ng pangungutang? And then, ano ba ang key? Yun yung question eh. Ano yung key para yung syudad nyo will transition from that stage of borrowing into a stage of repaying all the debts? Kasi in a place like ours, where I remember writing a one post before na sabi ko, in our place we have three ports. Mayroon kaming 3 pier. Mayroon kaming anong tawag namin diyan old pier, new pier, sira na pier. And then nagtayo pa ng pang-apat na pier. At yung pier na yon, na pang-apat, ayun, galing pa lang ako doon, hindi pa ako nagbabanlaw, naligo kami doon. It's all kapalpakan. Bakit? Wala pang ni isang barkong dumadaong sa lugar namin. Despite having all of these piers. Di ba? Hanggang kailan ba matututo yung ating mga tao sa probinsya na bantayan yung sarili nilang pera? Kasi dyan nagsisimula yung And then I asked my friends, yan. Magkano ginastos ng gobyerno niyo dyan? Nobody knows. Nobody knows in the city. Those who are living, nobody knows. Ako, I know. Because I looked at their report to the Department of Budget and Management. At saka sa DILG, yung mga report na ginagawa nila. But the people who are living here, walang pakialam. And then they voted the same set of officers, the same set of officials, the same people were responsible for everything. Bakit tayo ganyan? And what will it take for people to realize na just like in a competitive place like the province of Cebu or the city of Manila, alam mo yun na talagang project for project, katiting na baho dito, katiting na sabi nga ni Digong, the whiff of corruption, alam mo yun, sisingaw ka agad. Pero there are places, there's so many places in the Philippines like ours where taboo na i-criticize yung ating mga local government officials. Okay? So once again, okay, baka may gusto sa inyong mag-live na reaction, okay? Paste ko yung link natin, ha? There you go. I think you will be able to generate or element. Kasi ano lang naman tayo dito, tayo lang naman lagi, no? Watching from Singapore, di ba? Lahat kayo, pag umuwi kayo ng Manila, sasabihin nyo, ang Manila walang, hindi nyo masasabi yun. Ang Manila, matindi yung pagbabago sa okay, typo lang daw yung 1981. Yes, but it has only been 30 years. Okay, and now, there are sectors who want to call for yung tinatawag nilang local autonomy ng statehood. Oh. Alam nyo ba kung anong pinagsasabi natin dito? Merong nananawagan dyan ng federalism. Alam nyo ba ano yung federalism? It is statehood. For every region ba is one state? Region na, region na region. Can you even consider yourself a part of a region if you're coming from a province? Oh, sige nga, pag-isipan nyo nga, if you feel any affinity, like ours, our regional center is supposed to be Cagayan de Oro. Do we feel any affinity from the people in Cagayan de Oro or even Iligan at that? No, I don't think Iligan is even part of it. I don't even know what are the parts of our region. Okay? So kayo, do you feel that your regions can become states like the Bangsamoro, may nagagalit sa akin kapag na yung BRMM ba? Yung kanilang tawag nito, yung kanilang parliamentary form of government. Okay? So isipin nyo, if every region, ang Pilipinas ay i-divide natin into, ilan na ba ang region ng Pilipinas? 14 regions, and then ipapamanage natin yung finances niyan, bawat region, independently of each other. Sa tingin ba natin, we will have fair and kumbaga equal development as we theoretically think will happen? Yan yung tanong. No, kasi there are places like ours which never changes. Merong bagong daan. Okay, fine. May bagong daan dito, may bagong daan doon. Yung daan sa labas namin ay winawidening, dinadagdagan ng 1/2 lane. At hanggang ngayon, yung hukay pa rin. Why are there places like this? And if we will, okay, sabi dito si Carr, Cordillera Administrative Region is okay. How long did it take the Cordillera Administrative Region to reach that kind of stability and maturity before the state or before the autonomous region was able to perfect the systems so that yung kanilang local government, no, can act responsibly for their funds. Malaking budget yan, ha? In a city like ours, it's no joke. Magkano ba ang aming tira dito? Sabihin mo ng close to 1 billion maybe? But where does it go? No? Pwede kang mag-ask. You don't need, okay, Rocky, okay, go ahead. Yan, I'm putting on stage. Yes, you wanna talk? Game. Salita ka. Yan.
Hello.
Where's attorney Ahmed?
Wala,
Hindi,
sir.
coming pala siya kasi maulan daw din na she is coming home. Uy, Sas! Yan, ito. Nasa malayong lugar. Hi, Sas. Maglagay ako ng link ulit. No? Yeah. Ikaw, Rocky, meron ka bang sariling probinsya na inuuwian?
Wala, sir. Manila girl.
Manila girl. Okay. So, okay, for a Manila girl, do you think merong advantage na magkaroon ng magkaroon ng State of Manila.
What do you mean?
Diba? State of Manila, would there be any difference in your life as a Manila girl? Kasi ganun ang mangyayari when we go into federalism.
Okay.
Diba? The National Capital Region will be one state. Our region here, Region 12, will be another state. State, quote-unquote, no? Federal state. Kung si Sas may be able to educate us more on this,
Yeah,
no? Kasi,
siya na
alam mo,
lang.
yeah, but I want to hear your reaction, di ba? As a Manila person, do you think there will be any changes? Is there, una, maybe they will have more money than now, or I don't know. Will it affect to result to more budget for Metro Manila? I don't really know. If Sas, come on. Okay, nag-post na ako ng link. Paste ko again, because I want to know. I'm really interested about federalism and how it will affect places like ours. No? There, I think it's there. Yun, come on, Sas. Join us. Kasi, okay, si Rocky, I know, Rocky would not even feel anything. Diba? I'm not saying it's absolutely wrong. I don't have any personal judgment about federalism. Pero I have questions, a lot of questions, because after I see, after I observe, okay, not only here, but places in Bicol, say for example, Bulan, Sorsogon, will that change after federalism? No? Sas, if you are there, and then I think you will be able to. I will see you when you come in. Since we are on an archipelago like Japan, can we follow their parliamentary model? Okay. I really do not know if their parliamentary model is based on statehood, or is it just a legislative form? I cannot say much about Japan. Sinong familiar about ano? Kasi meron siyang, okay, yan, yun, at least ito may international perspective tayo. There you go. Yan. Tell us.
Hello, everyone. Char.
Yep. Hello. And yan.
Ay, bakit nawala? Bakit nawala?
So move there. Wala, nawala si. Oops. Hala. Again. Again, do it again. Sorry. Signal ko yung nagwawala-wala. Golly. Okay, wait. Sas, come back, please. Wait, I just paste again the links. Okay, next stop. All right, wait. My bad. Oh, not my bad. It's PLDT bad. All right. I would like to change to a federal state, sabi ni Francis. Okay. Okay, Francis, where are you from? No? If you're from Metro Manila, yun yung big question. Would it change any of your lives? Yup, okay. Sana hindi na ako mamatay. Okay, go. Yan. Diba, Francis? Oh. Hi, Sas. Sorry, it's my signal which is very bad. Okay. But,
Nasaan ka ba?
I'm in far away Mindanao.
Ay, saan sa Mindanao?
Or Roqueta City to be exact. It is in the province of Misamis Occidental. Did you know? Did you know that this was once a capital of the Philippine Islands? During the time of Manuel L. Quezon?
O hindi ko alam
Yan.
yan, ah.
Oh, yeah.
Trivia.
Yeah. Our province, when that patrol boat left Corregidor, it passed by here, and Manuel Quezon's group ran the Philippines for a few days from our Capitol building, and they printed money here, Philippine money, under the name of the Republic of the Philippines, and then they left for Australia. But now, whatever Manuel Quezon saw in 1945, about 25% of that is still here. Hasn't changed. Yon. So, the question is, will federalism help us? What do you think?
Depende sa pag define natin ng help. Anong klaseng help us in terms of what? Ayan.
Development, maybe economic progress. Doon na lang, economic progress. Is it a must for economic progress?
Ang federalism, is it a must for economic progress? Well, bakit nga, ang tanong kasi, syempre, what do we need to fix, di ba, muna? At the present, system na unitary yung Pilipinas. Asan na? Nawala na naman si JP. JP, are you still there?
What's up?
Si JP
Hi,
ba
good
nandiyan?
evening. Bakit
Good
nasa
evening.
gitna ako? Hi. Kamusta? Sorry, ang tagal kong nakakonect.
Nakahang si JP.
Hintayin lang natin. What are you talking about? What's going on?
Ano daw? If federalism can help, tinanong ko siya, anong klaseng help? Sabi, economic progress. So, ang tanong ko, tingnan muna natin, ano ba ang mali sa kasalukuyang sistema ng unitary system kaya mabagal ang economic progress? Meron ba, Ahmed? Is there something
that is not or that will be solved by an immediate or a sudden shift to federalism?
Well, hindi muna.
Tanong?
Wala muna doon. Ano yung mali muna sa economic? Meron bang mali sa economic Anong mali sa kasalukuyang sistema because of economic progress? Ma-associate ba natin yon sa sa pagkakaroon natin ng unitary system?
Sa tingin ko walang immediately na mali that a unitary system can solve exclusively. Wala akong maisip. I think that federalism would just pave the way to amending the constitution, and then when the constitution is being amended, maraming maipapasok din that has nothing to do with federalism, like full ownership of a foreign capital on real estate, all that stuff, liberalization of otherwise nationalized industries and all that. Pero kung tatanungin ako kung meron bang masosolve ang unitary system na problema ng bicameral system na siya lang ang makakasolve, no. I can see any such problem.
Hindi kasi sabi ni JP, di ba, will federalism help us in terms of economic progress? Pero syempre, tingnan muna natin anong mali sa economic progress natin ngayon. Sabi ni Ahmed, sa ngayon, yung mga mungkahin na related sa economy, yung pagpapasok ng FI, liberalizing the economy, etc., has nothing to do whether your system is unitary or federal.
Correct.
Exactly.
I agree with that. And I think yun yung malaking pero given the political independence of a state-like federal unit, all right? Will that translate into tangible or expectable Una, laws of corruption. Eradication of corrupt practices.
Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that the unitary system is immune to corruption. It is not at all, because meron din namang corrupt na mga incidents of corruption incidents of corruption sa unitary systems, like in the UK. But that's not no, unitary pa rin ba ang tawag sa kanila pagka they are House of Commons and there are House of Lords? Hindi
Hindi
sila
ang inaano
unitary.
namin yung federalism, hindi pa yung parliamentary system.
Oh,
Si Ahmed pagod.
No, not the legislature. No, not the legislature,
Well, it's
but
not unitary.
federal,
Let's not talk about
state
the
law.
unitary. Let's just talk about the federalist system, which is a conglomeration of federalist states, di ba?
yun. Independent
Yeah.
states make up a country.
Yeah. If that's what we're talking about, I don't know kasi, for example, capitalization in a federal country's industry. Merong mga bansa, merong mga magiging federalist nation na may federal states na sobrang liit, like Samar, for example. How would it raise the wherewithal to start its own business going, its own industries going? And to think that is already one state in itself. And kung ang maganda kasi sa sistema natin ngayon pa is the contribution of Davao in its IRA and all that stuff can help Samar. Okay, the money that is brought in by Ilocos region can help Samar. Pero kung hiwalayin mo na yan sila at gagawin mo silang independent states, Ilocos cannot help Samar anymore directly, di ba? So, tingin ko, wala rin talaga siyang kaibahan eh. Maganda yung sistema, maganda dahil madaling palitan yung mga politikong makukulit. Yung ruling party, madaling palitan. Pero this economic progress, wala eh. Hindi masyadong relevant.
Well, I think kasi ang mungkahi ngayon about federalism, Ahmed, is hindi siya by province pero by region. So
Exactly, by region. For example, there is still a region that is very poor, di ba? For example, the Sarangani region, for example, or the region that includes Sarangani, that's very poor area. And those places where there are yung secessionist movements like Abu Sayyaf and all that, maliit ang ang income niyan as a region. And if we think about giving them independence in terms of finances and their budget and all that stuff, and not allowing other regions, for example, to help them readily, delikado sila. Di ba?
Pero
Delikado sila.
ang maganda din, gusto kong sagutin yung tanong kanina ni JP, yung
Yes,
will it
yes,
help
yes.
Manila to be a federal
Oh
state?
yeah, how about Metro
Well,
Manila? Happened to it.
Magandang tanong yan.
Di ba, halimbawa Metro Manila. Yung Metro Manila kasi, I don't think it will make any difference on Metro Manila itself. Kasi na
Like
yun,
the
nandiyan ang
NCR,
Metro Manila Center of Commerce eh.
Oh,
Hindi ba? I think ang direction kasi ng causality to economic progress kaya sa federalism, hindi sa change sa kasi political I don't want to call independence kasi hindi naman siya magiging bagong state with its own sovereignty or whatever. Lang siya, parang autonomy, parang ganyan. Pero saan siya autonomous? Hindi ba? Halimbawa, sa kanilang
I think
political decision.
Sa legislative decisions which pertains to local welfare, di ba? But nothing
Oo,
else.
saka ano rin sila,
Defense,
pwede rin sila mag-set ng I mean, it depends kasi sa structure ng federalism. Pwede rin kasi sila mag-legislate about federal tax katulad sa
Yeah.
sa United States, 'di ba? So magkakaroon sila ng iba't ibang taxes ang federal system, and in that way parang that's their competitive edge. So kung business ka, kung gusto mo ng lower taxes, you can set up business in another federal state kasi nga mas mura yung taxes, 'di ba? Pero I think ganun yung direction of causality ng federalism. You can have political independence, some decisions about economy, etc. And at the same time, parang you can ang ini-encourage kasi ng federalism na the different federal regions can have competitive advantage. Alam mo, may exploit din yung competitive advantage ng kanilang region, and it would have greater control about
That's
that
right.
competitive advantage.
Yep.
Parang ganun yung
That's correct.
causality
But,
nung federalism.
But anong problema dyan? Because
Okay.
it cannot
Let-
help.
let me-
We cannot the big federal. Huh? Okay, go ahead.
Let
James.
me just interject dun sa sinasabi ni Sas, no? Kasi, remember, during the time of Macapagal, okay, Manila City had a problem with their own politics. And then, nagkaroon ng problema sa pier. Pier lang to, ha? And they stopped unloading and stopped loading stuff for international trade. Okay, now, I would just
So,
relate
parang
that.
nahijack ang buong Pilipinas.
Okay, I would just relate that to a very recent event in Texas, where the state governor of Texas decided to make life difficult for the president, who is a Democrat, because I'm a Republican and I want to stop all the shipments from Mexico passing through my port, through my border. I'll make it hard for everyone to pass through my border. Now, what happened? Diba? Hostage ang buong United States because Texas, the governor there decided to make it difficult for everything to pass through their border. Now, if we look at our own history, this already happened when they couldn't resolve kung sino yung tatakbong city mayor ng Manila, si Oka ba o si Arsenio Lacson. 'Di ba? O yan yung AH Lacson natin, kung sino ba ang susuportahan ng administrasyon, si Oka o si Lacson, at dahil doon hinostage yung pier kasi si Oka may hawak ng pier. Alam mo yun, yung nagpapatigasan sila sa presidente. So if it can be done before and it has happened now in the United States for that matter, no joke, ha, US economy. So if a state can do that, wouldn't it be risky for all of us? Let's say for example, naging entry point ng trade with Southeast Asia, yung ASEAN natin, yung Zamboanga for example. Hindi natin yan madi-discount. Kunwari, nagkakaroon na tayo ng federal units. Kami, ka-region namin yan. Masaya kami doon. Magkakaroon kami ng direct trade with Malaysia. And then what if I become governor and si Ahmed becomes president of the Philippines, and then magkaaway kaming dalawa? Sasabihin ko, pahirapan ko nga yung gunggong na yan. Hindi ko pa dadaanin.
Ang mas malala ganito. Kasi I believe that for a federal system to work, dapat bawat state ay alam nila kung ano yung strengths nila. For example, Texas, they know that they are going to produce most of the meat, di ba?
Pero pinigilan nila trade from Mexico na dadaan sa kanila.
Ayan. So, meron silang strengths, may strong points sila. For example, Wyoming, they are in charge of the grains and all that stuff. Arkansas, Saint Paul and all these things na nasa Midwest, they are the ones that plant wheat and all that stuff. And such other similar things, no, in other states. So that what one state lacks, siguradong makakakuha siya dun sa kabila. Pero kung ganito pa tayo na competitive tayo, and then we are going to plunge into federalism, baka merong mga states na ayaw bentahan ng pagkain. Like ang Metro Manila, walang pagkain to, wala tayong tinatanim dito. What if na-bad trip sa atin lahat ng green baskets na, food baskets natin? Hindi tayo binibentahan dito. Hindi nagka-leche-leche na.
O di kaya ganito. Let's say for example, I am the entry point of trade from another country where I am also producing that particular product. Sasabihin ko, kunwari, example lang dito sa amin, kunwari naging producer kami ng say for example palay. And then mag-i-import tayo ng palay galing Thailand, didadaan nila dito sa Zamboanga. Sasabihin namin, bakit hindi yung palay namin yung bibilhin nyo? Ipigilan ko yung palay doon sa hindi makapasok sa amin. Mabibili ko kayo bilhin yung palay namin. Di ba? How can we stop all of those things? Di ba? How can we stop all of those things from happening given the propensity of Filipinos to bicker with each other for so many ticklish things?
Well, there is something to be said about how it all began for the United States. For the United States, it began with independent states. They are already independent sovereign states. And then they became a federalist system of government where all of these autonomous and tama. And that's it. That's what I'm talking about. So, sa atin kasi, we are going in reverse. We are one big country and then we break it up without so much as training ourselves by region, for example, to be competent in something that we can contribute to the bigger federalist scene, di ba? Iba eh.
Ay, ayan na uli si JP. Ano ba yung internet?
Nawawala yung internet ko, but with Ahmed there, it's okay.
Alam mo, maganda yung point ni Ahmed about, you know, yung different historical trajectory ng United States and Philippines. Na United States kaya nga siya United States kasi nag-unite itong mga states na ito in order to form a federal system na meron na silang independent states, different independent states na sila. So parang ang kaparehas ng trajectory ng United States is the EU. 'Di ba? Na different independent states and then they form the European Union. Although the European Union is, you know, it's not the United States of Europe. So magkaiba yung kanyang, so parang the opposite direction, you know, moving from a unitary state to federalism. Parang I think there are very, very, very few examples of that na the unitary system
Malaysia
breaks away into
But
in
Malaysia ba as ganon?
into a
Malaysia ba ganon?
I believe ang Malaysia ano na siya eh. Well, we are in a sense like Malaysia during pre-colonial times na, you know, you do have independent island nation states. Ang nangyari lang kasi sa Malaysia, hindi siya katulad ng ginawa ng what's this? Basta it's I'm not so sure kung Malaysia was ever unitary.
they were unitary under the British.
Okay.
They were
So
only
pareho tayo
unitary.
na eksena.
Oo. But I think the best example for us would be EU, no? If we can form a federal type of government among ASEAN countries, yun pa siguro, I would believe there will be much opportunities.
Ano yan? United ASEAN state,
ASEAN.
parang ganyan.
United
Yes.
South Asians.
United South
That's right.
Asia.
But again, mahirap
we're
gawin
supposed
yun
to be
because it is not one country that will just amend its constitution. It's going to be like an EU style nga na
Yan.
they
EU
went
style.
through thousands and thousands of years of warring before joining together.
Yes, because
Saka
they were warring.
Saka JP
But
nag-get
they were only warring on
ang-
how to unite.
Hold on, James.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Ano kasi yan eh. Gera ng gera sa gera ng gera sa Europe doon, kaya sabi mag-unite nga tayo para wala
Yeah,
siya. Pero
exactly.
pero yun na,
So,
pero yun na
tama,
nga,
tama.
the experience, the opposite direction. Alam mo yun, parang it's still hindi kaunti yung example natin on how to federalize. We know that a lot of federal systems work like magic kasi nga, they already had a long history of having that system, etc. Parang they evolved, to become a united um to become a country. So you have these independent
Exactly.
political communities. And then
I
they,
think that, for
to begin
example,
with, and
okay, continue.
Med, hindi
na,
ka guest, no? I can reconnect.
Hold on. Ano, James?
You are not a guest, I
Ano,
can
James?
reconnect. You are not a guest, you are
Yeah, go
a
ahead and
host.
reconnect.
I'll reconnect, kasi pinapuputol ata kayo because of
How
you.
do I know that?
Yeah.
How do I know that I am the host?
Hindi, you came in through the usual way. Hindi as a
Okay, sige,
guest.
go ahead.
Hindi dun sa
Sige.
login. Okay. I would just re-login. Sorry talaga.
Pag nawala kaming dalawa ni Sas, tapos na alam na natin kung anong nangyari.
Hindi. Okay lang yan. Magkakabalik tayo.
Alright.
Ibalik mo siya kung nawala. Sorry sa lahat
Sige,
kasi ang
No
pangit talaga
problem.
ng signal ng PLDT. PLDT na naman!
Sige,
I-restart
mag-reconnect
ko
ka
lang.
muna.
Okay.
Yeah,
ito
yes,
magandang example ng
Yeah, go ahead, Sas. Go ahead,
ito
Sas.
yung maganda ring example, Ahmed. Sinabi ng ating isa sa mga nakikinig na, it started from individual political communities. Yung UAE,
Yes.
United Arab Emirates. So there are different Emiratis already before. Diba? And then they evolved, unite, become one country, which is the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Ayun talaga,
Yes.
ano talaga yan? Meron talaga yung local Emiratis before na nag-e-exist na.
That's right.
So they already experience independent policy making even before, na nagkaroon ng isang United Arab Emirates. So
That's right.
ano kasi, we get attracted to a lot of federal states, kaya there are a lot of people advocating to federalize, because of how federal system works in other countries. Ako pro federalism ako. Pero the thing is, how do you transition, 'di ba? From
Exactly.
a unitary state.
Because tama. Sige, go ahead, Sas.
Ayun na nga, how do you transition from
Ayan.
one ayun na naman si JP. Diba? Kasi yun yung problema dun how do you transition from a federal from a unitary system to federal system? Kasi it's JP, ang pinag-uusapan namin dito yung directionality ng change. 'Di ba?
Yep.
Meron dito kaming tayong isang reader. An example niya ng federal state is yung UAE, United Arab Emirates. And katulad ng pinag-uusapan natin before, katulad ng na-bring up ni Ahmed before, itong federal state na to, UAE, to begin with, meron siya mga local Emiratis na before. Local, these are independent political communities na nag-unite to form the UAE. So, ano ngayon yung how do you transition? Kasi for me mas madaling mag-transition from a presidential to a parliamentary system kasi we do have political parties, we do have all these things. Pero the transition from unitary to federalism, that's harder to crack.
That's right. Okay, ang tingin ko kasi, ano, James?
Yan ang magandang tanong,
Go ahead, James.
Rich families, what will happen to them when they dominate more? Ayan,
Well, there you go. Because rich families, for example, the oligarchs, would have their business to cover the entire Philippines. Okay, and anywhere they are, they can just basically put up a new corporation in the Visayas and a new corporation in Mindanao, but they are still the same family. And here we go. We have a chance of actually being ruled by only the rich families that rule all other island groups. How to solve that? Because they are really ahead of us. Yung mga magpa-federalize pa lang, those rich families are already federalist states on their own. Diba? So we will have to compete with them in every island group ng Pilipinas because ang mga mayayaman sila ang maghahari diyan sa mga estado diyan, talaga sigurado. Parang magiging ano na tayo, mga feudal land holdings. Mga baron-baron na lang yan siya diyan, puro mayayaman ang nagpapatakbo ng bawat federal state.
Ayun. Kayo bang nag-freeze o ako? Malamang ako. No?
Both.
Both, all of us froze. Diba? So si Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos Sr., for example, no? He tried his best to make buwag all of those federalist states na sinasabi mo na political warlords. Diba? By inventing the very new and very powerful vote buying system in the 1970s. Diba? Yun. But that was a method to try to dissuade yung dating guns, goons, and gold. Diba? Kasi before, hindi lang yun vote buying but also terrorizing and yun, talagang patayan during elections. No? So,
Yes.
in a sense, tama si Ahmed, yun yung mga emir na
I think I froze.
Ano nangyayari? Nawala.
I can't hear JP. Yeah, but sige lang. Struggle yan, struggle.
Sabi ni Serena, what about if Luzon, Visayas,
Okay, go ahead,
and
Sas, go ahead.
Ayan, what if daw Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao magkanya-kanya? Hindi, ang ano kasi dito, ang problema kasi sa atin, the effect of colonialism. You know, yung dati kasi we are independent island nation states. You know, there was a Sultanate
right.
of Sulu, the Rajanet of Cebu, kung ano-ano pa kasi ang daming pangalan ng
yung kingdom sa Luzon. Yung kingdoms dito sa Luzon, Kingdom of Namayan, Kingdom of Tondo. There were actually I think 3 kingdoms here in Luzon.
Oo.
Only in
So,
Metro
marami
Manila.
Marami tayo ngayon. Yung Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, that's an artificial creation na merong isang unitary unit as Luzon, unitary unit as Visayas, even unitary unit as Mindanao because there were different kingdoms before. And nung pumatok yung Spain, you know, because in colonialism, it's far more effective to unite the different island nation states to put it under your dominion. 'Di ba? Na kukunin mo silang lahat. And doon na nagsimula yung pagiging unitary natin. And then of course, pumasok yung Americans. So there is a long history na nabura yung independent island nation states. Now,
Yes.
and of course, you know, it's quite nostalgic, and I'm pretty sure there's still advantage of going back to that independent island nation state system. Pero the thing is, how do you go back? You know, how do you detransition, di ba?
Kasi for a while, sorry. Continue.
Go,
Continue.
Go, Ahmed.
Okay. For a very long time since we revolted against Spain and again against America, we were almost speedily asked to join as a unitary system. And for a very long time until now, our hearts were drawn into the black hole or the center hole of unity of joining together, overcoming regionalist ideals, differences in cultures, because we have to be one. We chose a national language that is predominantly Tagalog, but we don't care about that. But again, everybody pitched in into the idea of unity of the entire Philippine archipelago. And we have not yet, parang hindi pa tayo nakakaget over dyan eh. Kasi hindi pa talaga tayo nag-unite ng todo-todo eh. Hanggang ngayon nga si Ferdinand Marcos Jr., ganun pa rin yung kanyang call to rally everyone into a united system. And then suddenly, you want to break us up into not only independent states, but independent states that will be cohesive in each of them, because they have a culture, a distinct culture that they can share with all its citizens. Wala nga tayo niyan eh. We broke it up eh. And we had joined into this one big culture. So it's like, paano natin to tutulungan na ang ating sariling estado when yung katabi nating estado nandun yung kamag-anak ko and we have the same culture. So it's confusing the people the collective memory of the Filipinos, which started only in the 1890s hanggang ngayon, from the tagging of our regions into a one unitary system, and then fighting our colonialists as one. Now suddenly you propose that we break us up again. It's going to be a psychological and psychological problem, not only economic and not only social.
Andiyan na ba uli si...
Okay. Ito yung sinasabi ng mga Espanyol, no, na napaka-imposible mo. Hindi, yung sa Marimar. Ito yung aking signal talaga, napaka-imposible mo. Okay, ito sinasabi niya. Dati merong Negros Republic. Okay, we also read that okay, there's a Negros Republic. There's also a republic in Bohol. There is kingdom in Lanao. There is a kingdom of Sulu, which is still existing. There is a kingdom of Maguindanao. Okay?
Kingdom
We
of
have,
Butuan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The ones with the golden braid. Tama. Yun, the golden stuff. And then, in Luzon, we also have a lot of kingdom-like tribal units in the north, lalo na in the upper north, which were never colonized by the Spaniards. Di ba? They have always been independent. So, meron
Nawala na naman si JP.
Nawala ka na naman. Nag-statue dance na naman siya. Alright, okay, Uncle JP, anong nangyari sa'yo? Singilin na natin tong PLDT ng kalahati na lang daw, sabi ni Cooking Dad.
Oh. I think maganda
while waiting for JP, let's... Yeah, go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Ang maganda kasi sinabi dito ni Ahmed, it's ako ang pagkakabasa ko dun sa sinabi mo, Ahmed, it's not really about against federalism or not. It's just that how you're going to transition from the current unitary state.
Yes.
Na yung history natin,
I agree with federalism, please.
Uniting the people together, ha?
Yes.
Diba, it's all right. Really all about, our long history, our historical condition as a nation is all about uniting the country, getting over regionalism. Diba? It has always been right. like that. And then how do you now suddenly transition na, okay, bibigyan na namin ng sense of autonomy ang bawat isang federal region, bawat isang region. So that the breakaway from that long history will certainly have some repercussions.
Yes, I agree with that.
Diba?
ang aking problema din naman kasi sa until we solve the insurgency problem, these newly emerging states, federal states that are psychologically, psychosocially weak because they are struggling with a transition of being a unitary archipelagic country into a federalist system na maraming states na kahit yung katabing barangay pwedeng ibang state na yan, dati, tumatambay tayo doon dahil nandun yung tuba o nandun yung lambanog. No, suddenly we have to produce this ourselves or import from them. It's crazy. It's a psychosocial problem sa mga tao na for a long while, and they were kids, they had to give up their regionalism, they have to learn Filipino or Tagalog, and then suddenly, diba, it's going to be crazy. I'm not saying that let's not do that because there are difficult things to do. Ang sinasabi ko lang, we should prepare before because of federalism in becoming a federalist, successful federalist system, we have to practice going there. It's not just a matter of amending the constitution and we're off. It's not gonna happen like that.
Ako, I agree. Kasi kailangan mo ng building blocks eh. Ano yan eh, parang change management yan. Diba? Na parang halimbawa, di ba? Ito halimbawa yung issue ng corruption. Akala kasi ng maraming tao, the corruption can easily be solved by removing people and then corruption would be resolved, di ba? Kasi the thing
No, of course not.
Di ba, the thing about corruption, ito talaga, basang-basa ko na to, halimbawa, yung sa traffic, di ba? Di ba, guys, meron, di ba,
Yeah.
have you noticed na meron ng sistema in order to automatize traffic violations na wala nang kailangan lumapit sa kotse in order to apprehend them, etc. Diba? It's just as simple as a camera taking picture of the plate number that violated a traffic
That's
rule, diba? Beating the red line, etc.,
Yeah.
etc., etc. Pero you don't have that, diba? You still have the usual na may lalapit sa iyo, ganyan. Alam ko, nagulat ako dito unang pag-uwi ko ng Pilipinas. Sabi ko, hala, kasi first time ko uling makakita na may lumalapit sa kotse pag may traffic violation. Nakikita ko lang yan sa Europe doon pag merong parking violation. May lalapit talaga sa iyo yung parking attendant. Pero the rest, wala na lumalapit. So bakit, di ba? Di ba the solution is so simple, di ba? Maglagay ka dyan, automatize it, and then remove it. Pero hindi natin naiisip, within the system, it is already an integrated system sa bureaucracy. Ganun, may kumikita, may, it's an entire ecosystem. So the problem is, how do you remove that system without making the entire bureaucracy collapse? Diba? Parang ganun yan eh, na, yeah, we're against corruption, pero how do you transition, diba, without that much damage to the entire bureaucracy itself?
Ang tingin ko dyan sa bureaucracy, for example, we don't have yet such statesmen, okay, and stateswomen and lesbians and gays that are ganap sa US, di ba, na they know, for example, that pag malagay ka sa state Department of State, you're expected to know the bureaucracy not only of the federal system but also of the internal government, yung local federal state government. That they actually have that person who knows all of these things by heart, and that guy will be the State Department Secretary. Dito sa atin, we don't have that kind of competence and expertise na ang inilalagay sa department ay pwedeng kahit sino lang basta friend ng presidente or sikat siya or whatever. But hindi pa nga natin yan siya na parang na polish na kultura, okay, in bureaucracy lang, for example. We have too few experts that really care about putting into action their knowledge and helping the bureaucracy. Hindi pa nga natin napopolish yan. Now we want to break ourselves up into smaller states that would have individual bureaucracies within its own borders. Paano yan mangyayari? How do we train every state for their bureaucrats there? Kasi ang karamihan ng mga bureaucrats nandito sa Metro Manila eh. So there you go.
Galing ka dyan. Tama yan, Ahmed. Kasi
go ahead.
different federal states would have their own bureaucracy. You will have your own, for example, environment department, health department.
Yes.
all these different things na nakikita mo sa national government, you will have them in different federal states. Kasi, if not, what for? Di ba na hindi ka na mag-federalize ka if you don't have these different functional bureaucracies. And then there is kaya nga there is a tremendous work to be done sa change management from a unitary system into a federal system. And tama yung sinabi ni Ahmed, you have to prepare for that. And so before you transition, make sure muna na you are suddenly preparing kasi it's like parang ganito, i-relate ko sa mga pang-araw-araw na buhay ng mga Pilipino. 'Di ba? Yung sa Pilipinas, wala tayong mentality of independence of children. You don't have that na matindi yung parental authority. And then kaya nga sa atin pag 18, you are not required to leave your parents and have your independent life, or yung parental authority and
Even at 40, Sash.
Even at 40, I'm telling you, even at 47 and 52, diba? Even at 47 and 52. Why? Because, diba, ang dami-dami pa rin Pilipino. Can you imagine, meron ako isang reader, sabi, buti ka pa sas pinapayagan ng mama mo magkaroon ng tattoo. Sabi ko, bakit pa? I don't even need to get permission kasi I'm already 40. Why do I need to get the permission of my parents to have a tattoo? Sabi niya, sana all. So, can you imagine that kind of mentality na you still want to have your parental consent at the age of 40? Na parang,
Si Rocky.
So ako nakikita ko that kind of mentality, it also applies to our nation na, 'di ba? A lot of our province still waits for the capital to make a lot of important decisions. 'Di ba? Peace and order, etc. Of course, there is some sense of independence, pero the general framework of asking that kind of authority of resting the central decision-making power sa Manila, it's still there. Pero halimbawa, of course, we do have like autonomous region, like for example, yung BARM, di ba? They are now autonomous
BRMM.
region. Parang halimbawa, dati there was even a call for Cordillera Autonomous Region. Pero there is an Cordillera Autonomous Region.
Yes, CAR. Yan yung CAR.
Pero we have to remember that these regions, they have a long history of fighting for their independence. They were independent already for a long time.
Kaya nga.
Naisama lang sila sa unitary system. Pero they retain that independent kind of thinking for quite a long time. Kaya, it's easy for them na, okay, we will autonomous. Yeah, because we have already been a cohesive region before that there was a Republic of the Philippines.
That's right. Okay, JP,
Kaya
go ahead.
Yung sinasabi kanina nung isang yung pinost ko diyan, na yung parang federalism and autonomy, they are two different things. That only shows a lot of misunderstanding about this whole federalism thing, no? Because just like what Sash is saying, we are used to that parents patriae concept, not even just in politics but also in the household, no? And then later on, we want to be independent. Yung ating concept of independence as individuals is the same as our independence in the household, na dikit pa rin yung ating bituka kay nanay, kay tatay.
Correct.
Precisely. Di ba?
So, kaya nga yung point kasi ni Ahmed dito is the psychosocial aspect nung pag-move from a unitary system to a federal system. Kasi, can you imagine, for 18 years, di ba, sa household, you were never prepared to be independent. You were never given a sense of, you don't have sense of independence at all. Kasi in other countries, at 18, you have to leave. May preparation yan from birth to 18 for you to be independent at 18. So yun yung inaano ni Ahmed. Can we have that preparation first before nasabihin mo, mag-independent na tayo, let's change everything na ganyan. So it all boils down to that kind of preparation, and it will take years to decades actually to do that.
Kaya
Ang
nga,
iniisip
only
ko,
in the Philippines, yung di ba? Hindi ka talaga makikipag-boyfriend kung walang approval ni nanay ni tatay.
Hindi applicable yan kay Ahmed.
That's right, that's right.
Oh.
Ako, ang masasabi ko dyan, dagdag lang maybe if it is going to be done really, if it's really going to be insisted upon, what I propose to do is to try it out na parang 3 federal states lang muna. Like the entire
Ano masasabi mo
Luzon, the entire
dyan?
Visayas, the entire Mindanao. And then para siyang parang meron siyang fellowship muna na magsasanay muna yung lahat ng taga Luzon until they're all ready, and yung mga matatanda na, in other words, mga mature na in the understanding of the system, sila yung magiging tingnan nyo kami, we are the model for entire Luzon. And all of those other parang stewardship of regions by one main big region like the Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao, for example. As ganun nga, tutulungan mo yung katabi mong mga lugar dyan sa isang isla until they are ready to become their own states.
Ayan. So,
Centralize ulit.
Well, ang federal states
Right,
naman, yung federal states naman kasi there is a centralized government, pero down to the region. So parang i-devolve mo lang yung centralization. So there is still pero there is still a parental authority, pero you're devolving the parental authority to a legal guardian. Parang ganyan, JP.
Tukuya. Pwede na kay kuya. Okay, pero
Parang stewardship lang muna. And then until mahanda na. Go ahead.
Aren't we too small? Like in terms of size, we are just as big as one state in the United States. Okay?
Ang Malaysia
In terms of
parang
size.
maliit lang din.
Kaya nga. Okay, but how do we look at the qualification for division? Is it by size or by cultural similarity, or is it by language, or is it by political maturity? Kasi kung sinasabi mo, kunwari, sa Mindanao, we have Davao. Meron din naman tayong Cagayan de Oro, which can lead the way. In Visayas, you have 2 centers there, Iloilo and Cebu. It has always been the 2 centers of trade in Visayas. In Luzon, hindi ka nga limited sa Metro Manila sa Luzon eh. In fact, sa Luzon, ang dami mong in the north, you have the Ilocos region, which is also already very rich, Meron naman tayong mature na mga lugar na maaari talaga sigurong mag-survive in case na ipagpilitan natin na magkaroon ng meron tayong mga lugar na magsusurvive and maybe mag-thrive. But but there are areas which may actually decline, like Manila. What will happen to Manila? Imagine mo if Manila will decline.
Decline what?
After that, Manila will decay.
Well,
Can you imagine
Manila Manila is already decaying.
Di ba? No, like there are countries, Sas, di ba? In Europe, there are a lot of countries that used to be the center of the world. And then later on, wala na. Because like Siena, for example, after the bubonic plague, it became no man's land. Di ba? Florence for a time became the center of the entire Europe. Rome, for that matter, became the center of Europe. So, how do you survive becoming a non-center? Kaya nga tinanong ko kanina, how will this affect Manila, for example? Nobody thought of Manila. We're always talking about what will happen to Davao, what will happen to us.
It is very dangerous for Manila. It's really going to be very dangerous for Manila. That's what I'm talking about.
Pero remember yung federalization, alam mo talaga
income ba?
Ay hindi siya by income. Kasi I believe ang leading proposal ngayon for a federal system is really by region. Di ba iting kay Nene Pimentel? Really region on a regional basis. Pero the thing is, kaya maganda yung emphasis ni Ahmed about preparation. Kasi remember, itong amendment ng constitution na to would also require, consent from the provinces in those regions to be part of that larger federal region.
And
Ay,
mental preparation ng mga tao, hindi lang ng
Yes.
officials.
Yes,
Di ba?
alam mo ang mangyayari diyan kasi ganito halimbawa sa EU, 'di ba? 'Di ba? They are, maybe it's a bad example kasi mali yung directionality, pero in terms of psychosocial adjustment, 'di ba? About the EU, there are a lot of independent states. So now, nung magkakaroon ng constitution ng EU na magkakaroon tayo ng EU as a supranational body, ayan na, diyan na nagkakaproblema kasi nga the people don't want to give up their independence. Tayo
Even
naman, the reverse
England had to pull out, di ba?
Diba? Oo,
And England pulled out.
diba, UK even pulled out. Tayo
Oh.
naman ang ating directionality naman, would we like to give up our dependence?
Our dependence, yon. At saka isipin mo
That's
na
right. That's right. Because,
Okay.
for example,
This is perfect
education.
example. Law and order.
Oh, sige.
Chow chow
Okay, go ahead,
chua.
go ahead.
Chow chow. Hindi nga chua. Chow chow yumul.
Oh, bakit? What about him?
What
Diba?
about you?
His complaint was a purely police matter, which could have been resolved at the BRMM level. Why does he have to go and direct his anger at the national government? Do you think this doctor didn't understand the BRMM framework? Di ba, if
Ako
a
na,
doctor
wala.
cannot even understand the BRMM framework, how can you expect
Yeah,
an
well,
ordinary person like me to understand it? I'm a very dependent person. I'm highly dependent to my city government, diba? To do stuff for me, to warn
Yes,
me
and,
when there's flood.
For example, yung yung infrastructure of communication and education, for example. Most of our major cities in the Philippines, in Visayas, Mindanao, and Luzon, did not invest in their own infrastructure for communication because there's Manila, the main broadcast stations are there, and they can reach us and all that stuff. And what is only needed is yung parang repeater that will repeat their signal to farther and farther places. But we don't have our own in the sense that each individual aggregation of what may become federal states, wala silang investment na ganyan. And again, sa education, ganun din. We are so heavily dependent on the educational systems of Visayas and in Cebu. And here in Metro
Materials.
Manila, we and all that. Sa Davao, sa Mindanao, ganun din. Everyone goes to Davao to study and all that. So, paano ngayon when we break it up? Can we sustain each state now that we have to invest on our own state university in each of our states? Na para matuto naman tong mga bata natin, and we do that while we adjust ourselves psychosocially into the new environment of emerging troubles and emerging benefits. It's going to be too much. I don't know how
Ako,
to
Ahmed,
And then comparison.
Ako, maganda yung Ahmed yung ginamit ng education. Like for example, the UP's system. You do have UP branches in different
Yes,
locations in the
There's only
Philippines.
one.
Pero 'di ba? The quality of
There's only Diliman.
the quality of education is different.
It's
And the
different.
transfer of resources, the Diliman, the
Joke
Diliman
lang,
branch still holds supreme. Saka even people when you talk about UP, parang lang tingin lang nila there's only one UP and that's UP Diliman.
Diliman.
Well, I don't really believe that because
Yeah.
there is only the Department of Philosophy that exists.
Ayun si Ahmed yan,
Yeah.
ano yun, superstar
And then
yun.
comparison, ha? And then comparison. Okay, let's just use okay, hindi na to states, but just this morning I was driving my sister-in-law who is an international stewardess. Pal. She was
Yes.
comparing the benefits of Qatar Airways and PAL. Okay? So imaginein mo, this is just one person comparing two different setups, okay, in another state. But okay, let's say for example, itong mga taga sa amin na nasanay sa malumanay na buhay, nasanay sa napaka-relax na buhay na at 8:30 matutulog ka na talaga at nahawa ako doon for a while. No? Now, if there will be boom in one state, okay, at hindi na siya ngayon mandated ang buong bansa na tingnan yung sabay-sabay na pag-unlad ng lahat ng probinsya, lahat ng rehiyon. Hindi kagaya ngayon. Kagaya ngayon, pumunta ka sa mga daan diyan sa mga provincial roads, national roads in provincial areas. You will see that yung dating one lane ay ina-expand yan into two lanes. And then, some people think in their province na napakagaling ni governor, nagawa niya ito. Hindi nila alam na national government project yan. Okay? Na yung lahat ng one lane, na panahon ni Digong ay nadagdagan into two lanes, ay ngayon ay dinadagdagan na yung tulay into the fourth lane. Project yan ng buong Pilipinas wherever you go. No? Now, if you take that away, and then magkakaroon ngayon ng matinding comparison after 10 years, kasi, let's say, itong isang nagko-comment sa atin, Calabarzon will surely survive. Of course, I believe that. Di ba? Calabarzon, ito, mga sigurado ako magta-tribe. Calabarzon, Cebu, Iloilo, yung may mga sugar, yung mga sugar natin, sugar barons natin, ako tuwan-tuwa siguro yan sa federalismo.
Davao Region. Yan, siguro.
Davao Region. Yeah. And then Ilocos. Dito sa Cagayan de Oro siguro maybe kasama kami doon pero hindi ko sure kasi walang magkakaintindihan sa politika diyan. Pero let's say for example, Lawag, yung mga buong Ilocos region. 'Di ba? Lahat yan magta-tribe yan yung buong Ilocos. And then there will be comparison sa mga lugar kagaya namin. Hindi naman kami associated kina Coco Pimentel. They will surely lord it all over us. Kasi yun yung sentro namin eh. But even the people here do not have any connection with Coco Pimentel. We don't even vote for him.
Merong gusto ko mag-comment dito. Sa isang ito. Death penalty for corruption and perfect and tax collection okay na for federalism. I agree with that, but that is just the that is just the theoretical infrastructure of what we believe is a good federalist system. We are dealing with human beings. We are dealing with biological entities that have their own minds and their own feelings and all that stuff. Na may sari-sariling kultura na develop because of the 100 years or more of the Philippine struggle for independence and freedom. Na kahit na mayroong magandang batas, ang dami-dami nating batas sa Pilipinas, hindi natin nai-implement. Bakit? For very myriad of reasons. Andyan yung, mas gusto namin itong nagkakaintindihan na lang, wag na lang yung mag-ingat lang sa pagtawid, wag nang gumamit dyan sa pedestrian lane or yung mga footbridges. Dito na lang sa ilalim ng footbridge tayo tatawid. Basta mag-ingat lang tayo. Yun nga hindi natin masunod-sunod eh. Batas na yan. And it is not really just merely the process of setting up the conceptual framework and the theoretical framework of federalism. Kailangan din talaga
ganda ng example mo. Ang ganda ng example mo kasi talagang ipapamukha pa sa'yo, mag-ingat na kamamatay. Kaya kailangan may death penalty.
Saka ano yan ha? Saka hindi lang mag-ingat ka makamatay. Bawal magtapon ng basura, pero sa sign mismo may mga basura. You know, kasi ano to discussion, yung discussion kasi dito, you know, the long-standing discussion sa social science on yung structure versus ano bang opposite ng structure?
Substance.
And the individual.
Structure
and individual.
Okay.
Ano ba yung yung ano ba yung mag-i-initiate ng change? Does change come from the individual level or structural level, di ba?
Parang top down or bottom up, ganon.
Yes. You know, both have merits. Like for example, structural change. Na halimbawa, ikaw Pilipino ka. Lumipat ka sa ibang bansa na may structure. Mapipilitan ka talagang magkaroon ng behavioral change because of that structure. Hindi ba? Pero that's ang premise kasi nun is there was already an existing structure and you have to adjust to it as an individual. Pero sa atin kasi there is no existing structure.
You're gonna make it.
You're gonna make it, and then you cannot expect the individual to adjust to it just immediately as how an individual
While making it.
Yes, while making it. Just as fast as an individual will change its behavior if you put them into a system na meron ng existing structure that could influence their behavior. So ganun yung mangyayari sa atin na how do you move, 'di ba? How do we move from point A to B? Na ganiting sistema natin. You know, it's okay. I'm okay with federalism. I know how it works. Pero the problem is just like in any change, is how you're going to manage the change. Like for example, mga friends and kababayan, itong plano ng BBM administration, yung right sizing of government. My Lord, can you imagine ha? Ilang GOCCs lang yan na magkakaroon ka ng restructuring, abolition, etc. Pero as a Pilipino,
Wiwelgahin siya araw-araw.
di ba? Can you imagine?
Atakihin yung mga administrators mo. Araw-araw, bibirahin.
Yes. Can you imagine how you going to manage that change? Hindi naman to as simple as BBM issuing an executive order. There is a change management accompanies that.
In fact, you're correct. You're correct. I agree with you 100%. Like when BBM campaigned under the Federalist Party, no? I don't think it should be or it may be right to expect na magta-transition tayo to federalism just because he campaigned from there, no? In fact,
of course.
the best contribution he may be able to do at this time is to make this conversation more
Available.
frequent, more available, and then people will start, alam mo yon, not just opposing for the sake of opposing or attacking people like us who would like to explore all the permutations and all that. Kasi kung ito marinig ito ni Orion, sasabihin na naman ito ni Orion na ito talagang dalawang ito talaga yung pinakagunggong sa lahat ng mga gunggong dito sa buong Pilipinas, itong mga panggap na mga yan ito si Ahmed, ako, kaming dalawang pinakabobong tao sa pananaw ng mga correct Philippines.
Alam mo naman JP, if someone is very passionate about their cause, 'di ba?
Kaya nga.
The zeal is there. That's the passion of Orion, and I think everyone na merong ganyang kapassionate na advocacy would really go there. Pero the thing is, uminom muna tayo ng malamig na basong tubig.
Correct.
Para kumalma muna tayo lahat. Okay naman yan, federalism, we'll go for it for better Philippines.
We all agree with this.
We all agree to that. The thing is, let's not expect these dramatic changes to even happen in our lifetime. There are building blocks of life.
Correct.
Merong building blocks of life. And it's not, even if the president signs or even the Congress amends the Constitution for us to federalize, it's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen even in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. This dramatic system change requires decades.
Pero meron akong magandang naisip dahil sa example na sinabi mo, Sas. Lechon. Ang automatic na naisip pag sinabing lechon manok or lechon baboy. Tama? Na kailangan mong lutuin bago mo makakain. Pero merong lechon na maaari mong kinakain na habang niluluto. And that is lechon baka. Di ba? So, ang lechon baka, habang niluluto mo yan, kuha ka na ng kuha. Pero ang lechon baka,
Oo.
hindi mo yan siya huhubaran at itutuhog at ilalagay mo sa apoy. No. May preparasyon yun. Titimplahan mo yun, ilulublog mo yun sa templada bago mo siya lilitsonin. Pero yan lang yung lechon na habang niluluto mo, habang iniikot-ikot mo, kuha ka ng kuha doon. Okay?
That's
And
right.
that is what we want, 'di ba? That is what we want. The kind of dish we want na as we are cooking, we're already eating.
Ayun nga yung
Hindi
mahirap.
kagaya ng
Yun yung mahirap. Mahirap
Oo.
yun pagdating sa sistema
lechon
na
baka ang gusto nating mangyari, hindi lechon
Yes.
baboy. Kasi yung lechon baboy, maglalaway ka muna eh. Habang
Yes.
naghihintay ka ng ilang oras.
hindi, parang kita mo tong
Oo.
freedom of information system.
Mm.
It was instituted by the Duterte administration. Yung meron kang sistema, ganyan. But do a lot of people use it? It's available there, but does it initiate behavioral change, di ba? Kasi nga ganun nga tayo, no? Yun, kailangan mo munang the direction na Orion.
Wag na po. Madidismaya lang kayo.
Ano ba yung
Huwag
sinabi?
niyo awayin si Orion.
Wag
Yes,
natin
Wise.
Passionate lang siya sa kanyang cause.
Oo.
Dun, di ba? Pero yun na nga, perhaps we should be like for the Chinese, di ba? Halimbawa, the Chinese. Di ba? Una nag-experiment sila doon sa Marxism, socialism, etc. They realized na after a lot of pighati at failure, na-realize nila na socialism is good, but let's have socialism with Chinese characteristics. Di ba?
Mhm.
Di ba? Parang democracy is good, but let's have democracy with Chinese characteristics. Na,
And capitalism.
Pati yung komunista natin
Chinese
sa Pilipinas,
characteristics.
lahat eh.
di ba ganyan parati sila, di ba? Pero sa atin, kasi halimbawa sabihin natin, China, democratic, we will not be able to process it because they adopted democracy with Chinese characteristic, na merong trajectory.
With the communist spice.
Yeah, can you imagine a capitalist system with a command ano ba to, with a center of command, di ba? Parang
Politburo.
Politburo.
pero it works with them. Diba?
Kasi kaya nilang mag-imbento.
Yes, kasi nga
Okay, ang paniniwala ko kasi dyan, if there is going to be an analogy for our move from unitary to federalism, is not organism growth, but evolution. Evolution na adaptation and speciation. Bakit? Kasi 'di ba it's going to be an interplay of the social structural systems and the organism. Kasi yung organismo, pagka walang need sa environment niya to change, it will not change. Yung evolution shows, if you do not believe in evolution, that's fine. This is just the argument for evolution, that the organism changes because the environment forces it to change, because it cannot do otherwise. Okay.
Mhm.
The birds did not just willingly will themselves into birds from the dinosaurs. There was such need for them to develop something that would make them eventually become a bird. But that was so much time and change and probably insanity in many of them in the course of that kind of evolution. Ganon din ang dapat ang tingin natin sa federalism, switch from unitary to federalism, that it's not going to be just a mere change in the language or in the statements that we have in the Constitution, but also the feeling for each organism to change, that there's pressure around us to change, that we will all die if we do not change this thing. Ganon.
Right.
So it's pretty much like that.
But this is what he's saying, no? Yung ating immaturity, no? Pero yung sinasabi kasi ni Ahmed, the environment will have to change us. Kaya para sa akin nga na analogy dito na maintindihan ng lahat, kasi lahat ng Pinoy marunong magluto. Pero isa lang ang bagay siguro na pinaka-konti ang marunong magluto, lechon baka. So ang pinakamahirap lutuin, ang hirap lutuin.
Ikaw ba, nananabik ka ba sa lechong baka?
kakakain ko lang kasi ng lechon baka no isang araw.
Hindi,
Nakita ko, ibang klaseng
ganito.
lechon to Ha?
Kasi
Ito
halimbawa,
lang yung
di ba,
lechon na habang niluluto, kinakain na. Oh,
kasi we
sa manok
should be
ba magagawa mo
prepared.
yan?
Magandang question about immaturity. The opposite of immaturity is independent thinking. Sense of independence. When you look at histories of different countries, yung mga ingredients pa in order for there to be a widespread social immaturity. Maraming ingredients diyan. Like for example, how religion changed, 'di ba? Before the Catholic religion is about ano yung term mo kanina, JP, yung parents patria.
Parents
Yeah,
patri.
Parents patria na the father would have to dictate and would have an overseeing eye,
No,
etc.
like the parent, the good parent will always take care of their children.
Di ba may ganyan yung traditional way of thinking sa na in order for you
When you
to
can
reach
rely
God.
on your mom and dad to be there for you even if they're 90 years old.
Yeah, so di ba doon sa religion thinking, in order for you to reach God, you have to have an intermediary. Yung the Catholic Church hierarchy, the priesthood, etc. And then came the Lutheran way of thinking, Protestantism. No, you can have a personal relationship with God. Suddenly, you remove the intermediary. So imagine the change of mentality na, ay, pwede pala ako magkaroon ng direct relationship with God.
Yeah, you
Versus-
just murdered all the saints. You
Di
murdered
ba?
all the saints because that's the saints' job, yung intercession.
Di ba? Kaya nga sa Protestant churches, wala ka makikita mga rebulto ng mga saints.
Pero meron silang saints.
It's a really blank church kasi nga, you can have a personal relationship with God. Now, translate that kind of mentality in a social setting. Ano ngayon yung na-imbibe nila? Like for example, ang konsepto nila ng predestination, di ba, that you can achieve salvation basta you have to do good work on your own. So that translate into independent thinking. Hindi ba na hindi mo kailangan ng intercessions ng kahit sino. You do good works, etc. And then you accept salvation in the afterlife. So nagkaroon ng mga building blocks ng ganon sa iba't ibang aspeto ng lipunan na nagfo-form ng ating pag-iisip. So nagkaroon niya ng translation sa family, nagkaroon niya ng translation sa community, nagkaroon sa
economy.
'Di ba? Sa economy, etc. Kaya ang capitalism and Protestantism are tightly linked. 'Di ba?
Yeah, that's right.
Alam to ni Ahmed eh.
Ano yan, yung the Plymouth people. Kasi sila yung sila yung Puritans. Yan sila kapitalista talaga sila yung origin
And then
ng kapitalismo.
tayo, tingnan mo, may side effect din yan may side effect din yan. Kasi when pushed to its limit, napunta na diyan yung menudo. Yung sachet mentality.
Ano yun si Rabi Rosa?
Individualism, ha? Part of
Rabi
individualism. Na para hindi ka na kailangan umasa dun sa bibilhin ni nanay at tatay na hindi nila ma-afford na isang 350 ml na shampoo, meron ka na ngayong available na 3 pesos and 50 centavos na shampoo na nakasachet. Okay?
Yes.
And what is the side effect of that? Wastage.
Pollution.
And a lot of waste. Okay? And that is not just a specific example, but ang daming metaphorical na application sa buhay natin, no? Na ginawa na nating individualized ang lahat ng mga bagay, no? Na dapat social, okay? Na sometimes to the point of being absurd, no? Reductio ad absurdum na yung nangyayari. Let's say for example, we take education now as an individual thing, no? Na para bang yung responsibility ng community ay wala na dun sa education.
Yeah.
It's per family.
That is so okay. Hold on. That point is a good thing because that point is a good point. Bakit? Because in Africa, it's always their belief that it takes a village to raise kids.
It's community thing.
Yeah, and
Oh.
then suddenly now individuality and individualism and laissez-faire and all that stuff is breaking up the African culture, the small family structures. So it's also a danger to them if they are not ready and mindful of the, 'di ba? Hindi sila maagap sa sa pagtingin ng kanilang development because it's still also good that they have a concept of individuality because only that way that nagkakaroon ng laissez-faire and then competition and then all that stuff that gifts of capitalism, so to speak, si J.S. Mill. Pero yun nga, until then it came naturally to the Puritans because they were just like, this life is evil and we should just work and work and work and produce and produce and produce because that is our salvation. This is so para siyang default na
Absurd
siya na
naman yun.
papunta sa kapitalismo
Absurd
di ba?
naman yun. Si Sasa
Mapunta
may
na siya sa
sasabihin.
kapitalismo talaga eh. So
Oo.
that's an accident. That is a social accident and a political and a historical accident. But here in this case, our case, we will have to willingly want to behaviorally change into that kind of person. Kaya natin. I don't doubt the human resiliency of the Filipinos. But this is not going to happen while I still breathe.
But
Ano nga
we
siya
need
eh,
values.
it's a long process. Ito may tanong si Mick Sanchez, what if cities run autonomies to begin the process of federalism? These are all good in paper. That the cities will have sense of autonomy, etc., etc. Pero the thing ang pinag-uusapan po kasi namin dito is what it takes to change, 'di ba? What do we need in order to have this kind of change? Pinag-usapan na nga namin dito, yung mga kakarating pa lang, yung the difference between structure and individual, 'di ba? Na if you have this present structure already, the individual would be forced to change. Pero the premise noon is the structure is already existing. Ngayon, ang usapan ngayon natin dito, the individual will adjust its behavior while it's making the structure. That is very difficult. Very difficult. Di ba? Kaya nga, sabi ni Ahmed, this will not happen in our lifetime. Of course, a structure needs to change when individual needs to make
We'd
it.
like it to, but maybe not, di ba?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
not.
would want it. Oh, I would want it to
Pero the
happen
realistic
in my lifetime.
assessment, it will not happen in our lifetime. Parang
Okay.
ako,
Oh,
Yeah.
yung reaping the fruits of federalism, I don't think we can, even if it is done now, to reap the fruits out of that, maybe mga anak na natin yung makikinabang dyan.
yes,
And many
may
civil wars later.
And a few civil wars later. Yeah.
may
Probably.
generation din yan. May generational aspect yung ganyang change
Yeah.
na you
Yes.
you cannot really see
Ako bang nag-freeze si
that
Sas? Si
ambition
Sas
to
ata-
change doesn't happen. The adaptation to change doesn't happen that quick. Marami siyang building blocks na kailangan na para mabago yung mindset and for you to be able to prepare in that kind of
Siguro if
structure.
we started
While you're-
now,
Yes, Med.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you
Alright.
If we started now,
tama yung linya natin ng to me tama itong linya natin ng statement dito na it's much like going to be an evolutionary change that is generational that would need us now to begin mentally and physically, and of course the theoretical structures are easy to do. We just think and then write it in the Constitution, and we have to start now. And maybe our children will be born with that kind of collective knowledge that will make them work towards that ideal of federalism. Hindi na sila siguro mag-iisip na hindi kailangan individuals tayo dito at or unitary tayo ganyan. Because they will not be resistant to the idea. Tayo kasi we are resistant and we can help that. Even those people who they think are pro-federalism and they are the rara boys and girls of federalism, I'm sure that when they are in the actual phase of having to change to be ready for federalism, that they cannot do it as well. Because that is the paradigm The immutability of the paradigm within our heads
Yeah.
is almost a fact na when you change a paradigm, it's so much hurt that either you die or you become something else. You are no
But
longer the
first,
same organism.
but first, before you change anything, you should understand what you have first. Diba? Like what Mike is asking us about, no? Is there any law prohibiting an action that will make cities run autonomous? This is precisely my intro, Mike, no? Because supposedly, our city should have been so much more progressive than what I see right now.
Yep.
This is still one fourth of what Manuel Quezon saw when he came here in 1942, 43. And nothing has changed. Nadagdagan lang kami ng tulay na hindi pa rin dinadaungan ng barko hanggang ngayon. Bakit? Abay, ewan! Hindi ko maintindihan. But we have the local government code which Nene Pimentel already made. That should have been the backbone of this federalism that we are talking about.
Yep.
In fact, that was made in lieu of the impossibility of changing the constitution. We now have this local government code. Each of our cities have so much resources na hindi natin alam kung saan napupunta. Why? Because tayong mga nakatira dito sa probinsya, sa mga syudad, hindi natin alam kung magkano ba talaga ang natatanggap ni Mayor.
Ayun na nga.
Ay,
Ayun na nga, di ba, na parang maybe the system is not working because we don't know how to use it first.
that's right. I
Precisely.
agree with that.
Pwede rin ganon.
I agree.
Pwede rin ganon, di ba? Na halimbawa,
Yep.
nasabihin na
Maybe we don't
Kasi
need a
ganito.
new system.
yeah, kasi halimbawa, I'm gonna relate this to isa sa mga discussions namin sa Leiden na how do you initiate change, di ba? Yun yung ano eh. Tapos ang case study nun, isang anthropologist and she's working with developmental agencies. Ano to, feminist yung track. Ngayon, ang in vogue kasi isa sa mga in vogue feminist advocacy is yung female genital mutilation. So how do you stop it? How do you change things? 'Di ba? Do you change things na parang you have a top-down law na tanggalin na natin tong female genital mutilation, let's render it illegal. Pero kasi a huge part nung kultura na 'yon, the family decides na yung genital mutilation, the father, because a lot of those things. So for feminists, we have to destroy the patriarchal system para mawala yung genital
This is Islam, no? This is Islam, right?
No, it's not related to
No.
It's not just Islam.
It's not
No.
it's Islam, but it's really cultural, pre-Islam practice yan.
Pre-Islamic, because I know some beautiful women who underwent through that
Pre-Islamic
here in
yan.
the Philippines.
Pre-Islamic yan.
Pre-Islamic pa yan?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, ano yan? Oo, kasi wala naman genital mutilation sa Saudi Arabia or sa...
Pero meron dito, meron
Bawal
dito.
bawal sa Islam
Meron
ang
dito sa
mag-mutilate
Pilipinas,
ng katawan
right?
ng tao.
Oo, bawal sa
Pero
Islam.
meron yan dito sa Pilipinas.
Yes, pero ano yan, pre-Islamic yan. Pre-Islamic yan. So
Yeah.
edi yan ang problema ngayon ng mga feminists. Do you destroy patriarchy in order to get rid of the female genital mutilation? So ang ginawa nila, there is a structure. Ayun ang ginawa nila, they talk to fathers. Okay? They talk to fathers. Sabi nila, in-inform nila yung fathers, ganyan. Ngayon, paano nabago yung sistema dun sa case study nila? The father now tells the other fathers na, I will not let your daughter marry my son if your daughter genitalia is mutilated. The practice now changed kasi the boy, the boy.
Incentive, ha? Disincentive.
Yes, ngayon kasi kung aayaw ka na i-mutilate mo, wala ka mapapangasawang lalaki, and we know that marriage is a huge economic decision.
Oh, yes.
In those kind of cultures, and the
Not only
father,
that, social.
yes, and the father has a very huge authority. So ngayon, sabi nila, ngayon kung hindi namin to gagawin, mahihirapan tayong i-change yung practice. We have to work with the current system. Pero that boils down to understanding how the system works first. Maybe the
Sige nga.
system,
Explain mo nga,
Maybe-
bakit maraming porno sa Japan? Di joke lang.
si Ahmed nakakaalam niyan.
Alam ko yan because they are a shrinking and old population. They are an
Kaya nga,
old
kailangan ba
country.
nila i-promote?
Yes, that they
i-promote
have to
yung ano?
actually they have to
Encourage
encourage
people
people
to
to
have
have
sex.
sex. Yes,
Just
para
so-
magkaanak.
Kaya nga kailan bukake talaga para ano.
That's right. That is why so easy to see yung parang yung tindahan ng mga condom, ng mga toys that even children can enter anytime. They like parang walang tao, parang it's just a honesty system, whatever. And it's all over the place. And they train their children as early as childhood to think that sex is good and it has to be done and all that stuff.
Because they inculcated so much the culture of work, di ba? And then
Yes.
career
They need
first
escape.
before mag-asawa.
Hindi kasi Japan, a lot of escapist avenues ay nagpo-flourish because of yung ganong na work. Kaya I think
Career
a lot,
first.
Asawa ng cellphone.
Oh,
Di ba?
career first.
ang daming escapist avenue sa Japan.
Yeah.
Fantasy, anime, porn,
Mm.
because they need to get away from their mundane day-to-day living na puro work.
That's right.
Anyway, no? Censored yung Japan. Censored daw yung Japan. Meron ding uncensored. Anyway, okay. So it boils down to cultural preparation, mental,
Yes.
and then social preparation, no?
Individual.
Oo.
Even at the family level.
So it works in cases like legislation, no? Social legislation like what we are talking about, yung child mutilation, no? And it will also apparently dwell very well or sit very well with our discussion now on federalism, yung preparedness ng ating mga kababayan na tanggapin ito, intindihin kung ano yung kailangan baguhin, at una-una,
Pag-usapan.
ano ba yung mga dapat ayusin?
Pag-usapan.
Di ba? Ano yung mga dapat ayusin? And then yung openness na pag-usapan.
Ako talaga, it will all boils down to understanding how family dynamics work. Kasi, and initiating change on that level. Kasi the family is the basic unit of our social-cultural and economic foundation. Na if you don't initiate, if change doesn't happen at that fundamental unit, wala ka pang mangyayari. Kasi, there can be, there is an analogous analogous comparison ng federalism sa family level. Halimbawa, 'di ba?
Independence, no?
Yes, 'di ba? You can all be independent children after 18. Pero you still support each other. Pero you maintain,
Amen kay tatay.
'di ba? Pero you maintain independence. Na if you need help, you can still go to your father. Pero it's not the same kind of help that you can get when you're a kid, 'di ba? Na if you would like
Because
advice.
demandable yun pagka minor ka pa.
Pero ngayon sa iyong family na even if you're 50, you can demand support from your parents, and then you still have
And
that
your parents can demand that you follow.
yes, that you follow orders at the age of 60, di ba?
Iraq,
Sino ba nandiyan pa ba si Rocky? Mukhang liwanag natin si Rocky.
Di ba, that you still need to ask permission from your parents at
Si
the age of
Rocky
45. Then how can you be prepared for a larger cultural political change like federalism? Now you have to have a good understanding of independence and how it works.
I think that the way to do that slowly, gradually, as a unitary nation, is starting with legislation that do not talk about federalism but prepare us. Like for example, okay, from now on, all the offices are going to be scattered. The DNR will be in Davao, whatever. So that may training tayo na ganyan, and then i-develop ang bawat industry ng strength industry ng bawat region. For example, coconut and gano'n sa region na, sige, i-develop and let's fund that. Without talking about federalism, we already put up the building blocks of federalism without
Work.
noticing it. So, di ba?
Yep.
Ano yung
Paps Chulo,
functional
matutuwa ka
evolution?
dito sa aming grupo. Paps Chulo, kasi hindi kami mga diehard fanatiko ng kahit sinong nakaupo dyan. Although sumusuporta kami sa administrasyon, pero hindi kami mga diehard. At we have our own minds and we really talk about things despite kung anong opinion ng presidente o kung sino man, di ba? And yun yung kailangan natin, especially on this topic of federalism. Kasi at the end of the day, it will all boil down to anong uuwian mong probinsya? Yan ba ay mag-i-improve? Yan ba ay isang lugar na ikabubuhay ng matiwasay ng iyong iniwanang magulang? O kayo ng mga nandiyan sa abroad, no? Yung inyo bang perang pinapadala ay may sapat na napupuntahan o nagmahalan yung mga gastusin dyan sa lugar ninyo nung wala namang nangyayari dahil kinurakot ni
Yun na nga,
governor.
yung sinasabi ni
Diba?
Ahmed kasi, dito ni Ahmed kasi is functional evolution. Na halimbawa, you can set up several DENR, for example, in different regions and give these departments some sort of autonomy in deciding for those regions. For example, so now you're preparing bureaucracies already to have that that kind of level of decision making. Kasi can you imagine if you federalize and then suddenly you're gonna create the new bureaucracies that don't have that long experience of having this kind of decision making? Ang resulta talaga niyan is chaos.
Ayos.
Pakinggan natin to. No? Wait, why don't we
Bukas,
comment about this tomorrow? Ha?
Commentary, parang reaction video.
Why don't we set this as a date tomorrow, ha? Tomorrow ito yung natin. Kung ano ang nangyari dito sa
Promisin mo si Sas na sumali sa atin o tayo
Ano
sumali
sa
sa
game ka game? Kung ano nangyari sa hearing ni Robin Padilla. Kasi I wanna give this guy a chance, to si Robin Padilla.
Game. Ano ba yan? 10 p.m. ba yan?
Okay, si Robin Padilla I know has no experience. But he comes from, he's not a nobody when it comes to
Nawawala.
politics.
10 p.m.?
Ha?
Oo.
Tomorrow daw.
Anong oras yan? Anong oras?
I do not know. Maybe we just look at the Senate schedule.
Sabay tayo kung pwede naman tayong parang live yung yung hearing and
Mahirap.
react. Gusto mo
Mahirap.
i-record na lang and then i-upload natin?
I-record
And then
natin and then
react.
yung ginagawa natin na i-critic natin
tingin mo,
part by
Sas?
part. Lalo na yung mga nagsasalita.
Ang problema kasi niyan hindi tayo ang mauna. Pero that is a balancing act between tayo mauuna or tayo yung well-prepared na nag-discuss dyan na medyo comprehensive ang discussion. Depende yan sa ating desisyon dito kung anong gusto natin gawin.
Mas critical yung audience natin ng gabi. Kasi yung audience natin ng gabi, ito yung mix ng Pilipinong nasa ibang bansa, Pilipinong nandito, no? Pilipinong nakikinig at gising pa. Sana mahagip din natin yung konting mga addict, mga para matuto din.
Hindi, kasi ang maganda kasi pagka halimbawa real time or near to real time,
nagtatrabaho karamihan yan.
niyan.
Pero nagtatrabaho
So,
karamihan.
tanungin din natin si Sas kung anong gusto
Let's
niya.
see.
Tayo ang sumali din doon sa For the Motherland na website o siya ang sasali dito sa Luminous?
Pwede.
Depende. Anything is possible. I want, either way, I want it.
Anong gusto mo, Sas? Nag-freeze si Sas.
Okay na.
Ano oras
Bumalik
ba?
na siya.
Ano oras ba?
Hindi, Sas. Ang proposal is this. Option number 1 is we do it almost close to real time na habang nangyayari yan, we do our comment video reaction or JP will just download the entire thing, the entire
9 a.m. daw,
We do it at night.
Kaya mo, 9 a.m.?
Hindi ko kaya ng 9 a.m. Gabi na tayo.
Alam mo ba where
Gabi
I'll
na
be
tayo
at
sa
9
record.
a.m.? At 9 a.m. tomorrow, I'll be in an island.
Okay. So sa gabi na lang
forget it.
natin gawin. So
Live
paano
tayo.
yan?
Sa gabi tayo.
Sino ang magiging host? Sino magiging host? Ang for the motherland at manggulo tayo
Ayan na
sa
si
kanyang
JP.
side.
Dito na lang.
Diyan
Kasi
na lang.
tayo, dito na lang dito. And then you can actually
Idagdag natin yung output kay SAS, yung for the motherland, ilagay natin as a destination of this of this live.
pag
Ay, hindi.
sumagot si
Kailangan
Sas.
bigyan ko kayo ng what's this?
Hindi, ikaw ang bibigyan namin ng access dito sa na to.
Sige. Sige po.
Mm.
So, Japes, ipagamit mo yung access mo kay SAS, ako ang magsiset as host.
Yep.
For the two of us.
Sige.
Tapos si SAS will join.
Ano
Go
oras?
ahead, go ahead.
Ano
Remove
oras?
me for a while. Ikaw mag-host, okay? Ipahiram mo kay Sas. And then I'll be guest.
Ikaw ang magpahiram kay SAS.
No, I cannot remove it pare mahirap yung aking signal.
Hindi tatanggalin yung sa'yo. Yung account mo ang gagamitan niya. Siya ang mag-log-in as your account. Ikaw, I will take care of you because nandito ka na. Si SAS, yung account mo
Hindi ko
gagamitin niya.
ma-imagine.
Yung username, password mo sa StreamYard, ibigay mo sa kanya.
That's my personal password to my email address and everything. Ibigay ko sa
Baguhin mo
kanya.
daw. Baguhin mo daw. Just for this purpose.
Baguhin mo pagkatapos. Baguhin mo pagkatapos.
Hindi, baguhin niya
Sige,
just for
sige,
this
I will figure out a way.
Yeah.
I
You
will figure out a
figure
way.
it out.
I will figure out a way. If I have to add subscription
Ay, guys,
to this, to make it
Tingnan
like
nyo to si
$9.
Attorney Ahmed, oh. Kung ipahamak ba naman ako, pamigay ko daw yung aking email address sa aking personal na
Sa
email.
StreamYard,
Sa
StreamYard lang.
StreamYard. Pwede mo mabago yung password sa StreamYard.
Isa lang yun, pareho lang, kasi kailangan mo yung Google account mo eh.
Okay, never mind. Dagdagan ko na lang yung subscription ng StreamYard para
Yes.
magkaroon tayo ng 5 hosts.
Ayun pa. Yun, dagdagan mo ng host para pwedeng mag-host si Sas anytime she likes. Oo.
So I will
And not only that,
add
okay.
like $9 to the subscription. That's all right.
Ginugod night na
Yaman
tayo
na
ng
ako
mga
eh.
friends natin. Kasi gusto nila
Good
bukas.
night.
Hindi, kasi gusto nila bukas, malakas yung natin, yung ating mga energies.
Internet.
Oy, gusto ko yan
Oo, tama
In
yun.
fairness.
Hindi, anong oras? Anong oras?
Hindi, 10:30.
10:30.
We start here at 10:30. ng
PM.
evening. Okay, but
Oh, PM.
I will download already the hearing so that we will have the material, we can play it. Or much better kung galing sa Med kasi ang pangit na signal ko eh. Or better
Okay,
na
okay.
ngayon nung nag-laptop ako. Hindi, ngayon na nag-laptop
Ako
ako, it's
magda-download.
better.
Sige,
Kasi
i-download
kanina,
mo pa rin.
I used
I
the
will
phone.
download it and you will download it.
Ayun, yun. We'll do it both para meron tayong backup. And then we will critique the result of that hearing by
Congressional
the
hearing.
honorable.
All right.
Honorable.
Okay, I think that's good enough for tonight.
Ha?
We will continue
Yeah.
the federalism discussion because it never ends. The federalism discussion will never end and we should not allow it to end. If that is what we want, we have to talk about it.
Yes.
every
We
chance
want
we
this
get.
topic to be alive and kicking, to be an open subject, hindi tabu.
Correct.
Yon.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, what matters is, will this bring progress to my place, to your place, di ba? To everybody else's hometown. Kasi yun lang naman yung nais nito lahat eh. Wala namang iba eh. Economic progress for everyone's
Okay.
hometown. Di ba?
Nag-good night tayo mga tao. Mag-good night na tayo.
Oh, good night na tayo.
Mag-good night na daw
Kaya-
tayo. Good night. Good night. Mwah.
Oh, kaya ano tayo? Rock tayo? Rock?
Rock.
Rock.
Bye.